ceramics, I think, is just kind of one of those things that it was something that made me feel good, that I could do often, that was a fine balance of like giving my brain something to focus on and focus only on that, because you really do have to be attentive to the wheel. And also was kind of like endless in the sense that it was a project that was kind of never done. Like there's always something to improve on or think about or learn. Initially, when I signed up for my class, it was a curiosity and an ability to want to learn a new skill, and it was kind of me being like, oh hey clay, like cool, I should try that. And then now it's just this thing that I wake up and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do with my day? And I want to go to the studio, and I get there and it's like, oh hey Clay, like glad to be here, and I'm filled with joy every time I make stuff. Yeah, even just like looking down at my mug and being like, wow, I made this, and how special that I'm able to spend my time and energy making something and also sharing these pieces too, and it's my grounding. The first time I was diagnosed was while I was in university. So I lived for about 2 years undiagnosed. Went from like very healthy person, was an athlete, endless amount of energy, would jump out of bed in the morning, to having like very abnormal symptoms. I was losing a lot of blood, which I didn't know, and it was because my tumor was essentially like feeding off of my blood. So I was constantly having heart issues because I had such low blood levels. So I was in and out of the hospital a lot throughout those 2 years because I needed blood transfusions. After about 2 years, they found a tumor, and the type of cancer is called ESS. It's a stromal sarcoma cancer. I had surgery almost immediately, and within a few months went back to being my healthy self and felt completely normal. And it was just this thing that had taken away 2 years of my life. And my friends and I, we referred to my cancer because we didn't know what it was. Like there was no name for it, but we gave it the name Greta. So we would call it Greta. And that was just a name that I hope you don't have anyone who's called Greta, but it was a name that I just hated. And so I called it Greta. And my friends like knew it. We would be like, ah, damn Greta, because I had to cancel plans. And it was just this thing that would summarize how I was feeling, and completely unexplainable. And after I had surgery the first time and was first diagnosed, I didn't have any treatment, like no chemo, no radiation, just the surgery. And I went back to my normal life. I struggled to even go see a psychologist to talk about it. It was just something that had already taken up so much of my life, and I just needed behind me, and I wanted to move on. And I got through university okay, thankfully. Like I did well and was like the president of my student course union and was still really involved. But I had this like secret that was taking up half of my life and my brain and all of these things. So it was really hard to balance those two things and like keep going on, even though I knew something was wrong. This second diagnosis, things are really different. And immediately, like as soon as I was diagnosed, it was like, okay, I really need to talk about this. I joined all the cancer support groups and would go to meetups and try and meet youth that had experienced these things. And it was very very different this time around. Yeah. So while there is a lot of hardship and a lot of negative emotion, it's also been like one of the biggest blessings to my life. I definitely don't think I would be who I am if it wasn't for my diagnosis. And it's funny, I say like I've probably lived as much life as an 80-year-old has in my 28 years, just because of how much I experience in a day, and just appreciating all the small things. And you know, from crying, seeing people hug each other, just knowing how special those moments are, and all of that. So yeah,
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I'm lucky that I'm still here and that my treatment is working, and Yeah. It's hard, but so is life. Yeah. Yeah. One funny thing I do that I actually don't, I think two people know about it, which I should probably share, is I am very reflective and sentimental, and I've always been that way, but more so since I've been diagnosed. And so every time I fly somewhere, which I have been doing often, I spend flights writing love letters to all the people that I love. So I have like this whole archive of notes of love letters to everyone, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I have never shared them. I've always just like kept them private, but they're just like this archive of letters to people. Now I kind of have this cheesy thing that I say, 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies, in the sense of I'd rather have like 4 strong relationships that are like developed rather than like 100 sort of like surface relationships. And while I like really care about getting to know people, I don't spend a lot of time and energy needing to like seek other relationships and getting to know other people and building other friendships. And right now I think in the last year my circle has been like pretty tight-knit and spending a lot of time just focused on the people in my life that really matter and that build me up and make me feel better, and people that I also bring value to their life. So yeah, that's definitely changed my perspective on what I need right now. It's funny, someone was asking me to describe my kiln before I had got it. And I'm like, well, he's tall, dark, and handsome. Because he's black, it's a black kiln. I met a woman when I was in Maui. Her name is Jane. And Jane and I became quick friends. And she's actually a breast cancer survivor. And her husband, unfortunately, had passed away the year before from cancer. I think it was about his last 6 months or maybe 8 months of life, he purchased his own home studio. So he bought a kiln. His name was Roger, but they called him Raj. So it was Roger's kiln. And so Raj, my kiln now, came from his home studio in California. And so she was selling off his studio. And so that's where I got it from. So there's a lot of coordination to get Raj up from Orinda, California to Calgary. But when it finally came, it was a huge day for me. And a really exciting chapter, like a very emotional decision for me to decide to buy something and plan for the future after it had been, a year of sort of tying up loose ends and getting rid of things and sort of not planning that I wasn't going to have a future, but just like not thinking about my future and not acquiring anything that would be of that scale. Recently, I've been sort of thinking about these, like my little secrets that I'll take with me to the future. Part of me has a feeling like the need to leave some sort of legacy, I guess, or to share my wisdom, my thoughts, and perhaps one day just for myself to write some sort of story or book. Not necessarily that I feel like my story is important or it needs to be shared, but just something maybe for myself or for my family. So with that, I just in the last little while have started to create these like little secrets that I'll take with me to the future. So perhaps it's things that I've just have learned from my cancer diagnosis or my time away from my normal life, whatever that means. My first one is to follow your energy. And that's something that in the last year I have very much been following my energy and being okay with taking on whatever I can handle and not overpromising or being afraid to just say, I only have this much energy and this is just something that I can't fit in today. And I think that that's something that everyone should be okay with doing. My next one is kind of funny. When I was in the hospital initially and was on morphine, I asked my mom if I had reached enlightenment. I was telling her, Mom, I think I've reached enlightenment, and I think I was taking a philosophy course or something at that time, so enlightenment must have been on my mind, but I was telling her I'd reached enlightenment. My enlightened thought was just that connection is all that matters, and so I tell myself that a lot, is just like connection is why I'm here, and that is what is most important, and what matters in life is just to connect with others and to give to others and share your knowledge, share your time, share your energy, and yeah, so connection is really, at the end of the day, all that matters. The third secret is that the future is as unknown to me as it is to everyone, to you. So when I get really freaked out or worried that I don't know what's happening and I just don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring and I can't make any plans, and sometimes I have to remind myself that while the circumstances in my diagnosis is different, no one knows what tomorrow is gonna bring and what the future is going to bring. So to just hone in that the future is unknown for everyone kind of calms me down. I'm like, okay, you're right. We don't know, so that's why we just have to embrace today and spend today how we want to and doing the things that make us feel good, because no one knows what tomorrow will bring. So, those are my secrets for now. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll have another one next week. Yeah. My name is Steph. I am 28. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. I am a creative and living with cancer.